Okay, so we'll move on to successful leadership practices. I'll introduce James Michelle. James has a cool story. I'll let him introduce himself, and he's a hard worker. Just bear that in mind.
I am James Michelle. I'm currently employed by a company called Prosciutto Supply. It's owned by an Italian family that came to America and wanted to introduce gelato to America. So you guys familiar with gelato? It's different than ice cream. Ice cream in America is made with heavy cream. It has 40% fat, and there's a lot of air overrun in it. Gelato is made with whole milk. It only has about 4% fat, so it's introduced as a healthier alternative. My leadership experience comes from hard work. So where I am now as a production manager at Prosciutto, but it's really better if I go back to the beginning. My father was born in the early 30s during the Depression, right at the end of the Depression, and his father died when he was about 6 years old. So my father had a third grade education, never learned to read or write. So my brother and my sister and I grew up hearing the same thing all the time: get a high school diploma or die. Those are the only two options available to you. And the reason he told us that is he wanted us to do better than he had done. So I went to work when I was 16 years old, part-time, after high school for a smokehouse. We smoked briskets and turkeys and ribs and hams and those types of things. And my job was to scrub the floors in the smokehouses. It didn't take me very long to realize I didn't like scrubbing smokehouses floors. It was very dirty work. So I took it upon myself to learn what the other people were doing. So through that experience, I learned to cure meats through that process. I learned to run the smokehouses through that process. I learned inventory. I learned to purchase. I learned to kind of work with other people. At some point, the owner of Ranch Oak Farm, that was the name of the smokehouse, decided that he wanted a bigger facility. When we moved into the new facility, the plant manager realized pretty quickly that we did not have the capital or the business to support the larger facility. So from that, the plant manager got a company named Owens Country Sausage interested in the property. So I went to work for Owens Country Sausage in 1982. They purchased our facility, put us to work doing their work. Through that time, I had two very good plant managers that taught me inventory control. They taught me shipping and receiving. I learned processes. I learned to help write recipes, get them built into the inventory system. I was also allowed to supervise lines. Through that process, I was taught many things about the different parts of a business. I learned to kind of work with other people. Through that opportunity, I would run different lines, so I learned to lead other people. And then in 1995, one of my vendors introduced me to a man named Bob Seeds that was running a small company in Dallas called Country Flavors. What he did was to manufacture sauces. We did Italian pizza sauces. We did gravies for country cooking type restaurants. Started out as a dry mix operation. Through that, we got into frozen, ready-to-use sauces and gravies. When I went to work for them in 1995, it was a company of about $2 million a year in sales. There were 8 of us. I was the production manager, the scheduler, the purchasing agent, the shipping and receiving manager, the warehouser. So I got to put my hands into all of those things and learn all of those things. Bob Seeds several times a year would have a lunch for all of us, and he'd get up in the middle of a table while we were all there, and he would tell us what we do is make sauces, but what we are is an economic engine. What we want to do is be sure that we provide income for our families that work here. So he taught me about people, and that the people that work for you are your most important asset. your products are your second most important asset. Through the high quality people that you hire, you produce the very best products so that your customers become your very best friends. So the three things that were important to us were the people, the products, and the people. As that company grew, I was given the opportunity to work with a PhD in cereal chemistry from your alma mater, A&M, Dr. Gene Wizakowski. I worked with an executive chef named Bill Schoenleb. Bob Seeds was very unique in that his background was music and singing and piano, but he's also very technical. His side business was to go put phone systems into small companies. That's what he did for enjoyment. So normally people are artistic or analytical, and he was both, one of those rare people that was both. But I've often said that I've made a career out of surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me. And that's really true in that I've spent 40 years in the business, and I've tried to learn something from all of the people that put me to work. In 2010, Bob sold CF Chefs. We changed the name from Country Flavor to CF Chefs because we found that the name was very limiting. So we kept Country Flavor in the name secretly. C for country, F for flavor, Country Flavor Chefs. So it opened a lot of doors that otherwise probably wouldn't have been open for us. I asked him when I went to work for him what he was going to be doing in 15 years. He told me that his hope was that one of his children would grow up and take on the company. Well, that never happened. They all went on to do other things. So after 18 years, he sold the company. So the lesson that I learned is ask where they're going to be in 25 years, not 15, because 25 would have gotten me to retirement. The people that I work for now, they're very good people, but I've told them all the time that if Bob Seeds had not sold his company, we would have never met. So what I would suggest to you is find high-quality people that are honorable and do the right thing. Always do the right thing. If you're trying to do the right thing and you make a mistake, always go back and try to do the right thing. Treat everyone with respect and expect that from the people that you surround yourself with. You ask about hiring practices. In my line of work, we deal with a lot of day laborers. As CF Chefs grew, I moved more out of, I said I was purchasing and shipping and receiving. I wound up more and more into production management, and that's what I do now for Pashugo. And in that line, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where we live, the employment market is very tight. We have 4% unemployment. So we work through labor forces to go and recruit people, because what I do is deal with hands-on work and day work where it's repetitive. I guess it's a luxury of working through temporary agencies and bringing people in. I can work them for 2 or 3 days, and if they look like they want to work and want to do a good job, then we try to move them to full-time. If we get the impression that they're really just looking for a paycheck on Fridays, then I normally move them out pretty quickly and move on to new people.
One of the things that I got out of James's discussion that, he's talked about putting smarter people around you. And I can tell you with high confidence, as I went through my career, it can be intimidating sometimes to have an employee who knows more than you are. But it's important to leverage that and work with the employee rather than to be intimidated by it. Because sometimes if you're the boss, you don't necessarily like the idea that these guys know more than you do. But the bottom line is, like you said, number one, people. Work with those people, use those smart people where you're not smart to leverage the capability of the team as a whole. So very important. People are your best, your absolute priority in taking care and in leadership practices. So just want to echo what he had said there.